Hello and welcome to the Even Me podcast featuring More Speaks and Kim.
Hello, y'all. I'm Kim. I'm just starting off into podcasting, but I've been living this life and walking on faith.
This is part two of our relationship podcast. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Yeah. So this is what happened with him. This is so crazy. I was like, let's just split everything down the middle. You put the work into the house. We've been in this house 10 years. It needs some, work. Since the kids grew up here, let me have the house. No child support. You come get your son. Because at the time I couldn't put the house in my name because I was on bed rest and, I wasn't working. I was pregnant with our son, and I was like, let's do that. And he was being an ass about it. He didn't want to do that. Didn't want to, give anything to his son. Like I said, for the first year and a half, almost, I just got child support. So first year and a half, he disappeared. He ghosted. Didn't get. Now our son has a heart condition. We both have insurance on him. I couldn't get the insurance card for my son to go to this heart appointment. And come to find out, this is where I was really angry and I had to pray on it. I end up taking my son to a dentist appointment, and they wouldn't touch him to pull a tooth. They said take him to his heart doctor. I was like, for what? He's good. They said, no, we can't touch him. We don't want to pull it without permission. So I took him. I'm calling, him trying to get the insurance card. I called the child support agency. I said, look, I put child support on this dude. He has insurance on our son, but it's not court ordered. So I don't know if he dropped him off, and I'm waiting to go to court. What's the case? I need to get my son into the doctor. So they called and they was like, yeah, we can't serve him because we can't get on the property of his job. And they said we can't force it. So they called the job and asked HR to get the medical form, get the paperwork to me because he was the primary. So when I went to the doctor, they wouldn't see him without his insurance information, or I would have had to pay damn near $2,000 out of my pocket. I didn't have that. So finally, I got the insurance information. Took him to the heart doctor. I'm sitting there. It's just like a regular checkup because we didn't have any issues in the last 9 years because he had open heart surgery when he was 5 months. So everything was good. So he was right at his 10th birthday. We walked in there and they came in. They put the EKG machine on, and it was like, oof, okay, we'll come back. Then they came back and put put the EKG back on again, and did it. And they was like, hey, so has he been complaining about anything? I said, well, yeah, he complains about a headache, but I'm thinking that's that tooth because he bit down on a bottle cap and it broke the tooth. So I'm trying to get it pulled. So then finally the doctor comes in and she said, has he been complaining about chest pains? I said, he sometimes do that, but he's a boy. He's in fifth grade. He's trying to get out of going to school. So I did take him to the emergency room one time. They didn't tell me nothing but to get him into y'all earlier than November. This was in May. Well, she told me, she said, well, he has white Parkinson. Was it Wolf Parkinson's? And I was like, what the heck is that? She said, well, his heart has built some extra, some kind of lights or wherever. So it was shooting fire back at the EK. When they did the EK on the EK machine on him, had it on him, it looked like he was in a resting position with his hands behind his head, where his heart looked like it was all over the place, just like. And then the first tears started rolling, and I'm listening to this, and she said, "Yeah, that's why he's having chest pains. That's why he's having headaches. His heart is really racing at times, and it feels like it's finna jump out his chest." So I'm tears just flowing. I said, "Ma'am, I can't go through this. I just lost a son, and you gonna tell me that now I gotta put my son through another heart surgery?" She said, "It's pretty simple. We don't have to cut him down the chest. We don't have to do that anymore. We're gonna go in the groin or whatever." I left up out of there so devastated because I'm like, look how many months we went, how long my son was suffering with this. and he just would lay down and go to sleep. But I was fighting his dad for the insurance. So when I called his nephew to get in touch with him for me, and I said, dude, do you understand that all the shit you doing is hurting our son, whether you're trying to hurt me or not? So I was so angry. I had to go to church, get on the prayer line every Thursday night to pray because I had so much anger. And finally, it came up to him having surgery because they set his surgery back, and he had surgery in September last year. And I went on and invited his dad to the surgery. And I told him, he said, well, do you want me to be there? I said, it's for your son. He came, my dad interacted with him, and I spoke to him, and I let him talk to the doctor. And after he came out of recovery, was in the recovery room before he went to the room, and he was in there. We was talking to him, and they was like, let him rest. I said, no, I want to make sure my son come out of this anesthesia, he okay, um but I told him, I said, look, we going to court next month. Just do right by Chadence. We can make this simple and easy. We can make it where we both are required to have medical insurance on him, but we can work out everything else. This dude gets in the courtroom and basically do a whole U-turn on me. Oh, I don't have my check stubs. Oh, this is this and that. All kinds of lies. So when he kept doing that in the court, I said, you know what, sir, with the mediator, I said, uh, let's just go in front of the judge. I'm tired. It's been a year I done fought this guy to come to court. Now he trying to say all this. He knew he was coming to court. He have 3 older kids. So you know how this works. I said, I'm done. Let's just go for the judge. And I guess the man went to him, and then came back. I guess they told him if she go, she can get whatever the judge's request.
Yeah, they'll get more
Yeah.
than more than what the actual allotment is, because now he messed around more.
Yeah, so I can get all the back child support and everything. So I guess when he heard that, he finally came clean. And I was so fucking angry. Excuse my language. I was so angry because why would you do this to your child? This is your blood. This is your DNA. Why? If I didn't do it for anything, I didn't do it towards our son. Why would you do that? So I didn't really want, my first husband can tell you, I've never, whatever he gave and took care of the kids, I'd rather you have a relationship with your kids than your money. But you rather to see your son hurt. And to me, that would ever replay in my head is your son could have died on me. Your son could have just fell out one day. And we fighting for this. So I was like, whatever y'all do, let's go. And when they said $1,400 a month, I was like, okay. But you didn't want to even give me $200 a month. But the $1,400, I was like, my son deserved it. My son suffered for damn near a year, and you wouldn't even give us the insurance because you know you're the primary, and I can't do anything without your insurance. So that's where I told him after the court, he called me and are you happy? No, dude, you owe me way more than that. You know that. I could.
I'm surprised they didn't force it. So like in my case, that's why I was saying I should be an advocate for men, because the way mine went was, I mean, we didn't want to go to court. We knew that for sure. We wasn't trying to go to court, so we were trying to resolve it at that office. This was the one that it was on Highway 6. I think they moved it now, so it's on 6 and Karen Way or something like that. So we went, and I took all the paperwork because I was giving her checks at that time. I was just a regular technician, so I wasn't making a lot. So I was just giving her checks every month, and she was cool with it, or every 2 weeks or something. I can't remember. And they basically looked at it, at the checks, and at that time, like, we owned a house, but we also owned like a trailer because we had moved. Like, I did the most. Like, I just rented out my house that we owned in Richmond and moved to like Waller, bought a like a mobile home so we could live on that and build on there. And basically followed her family. And I mean, I uprooted myself. I'm a city boy. I was in the country, no internet, living out there. That's where our last months, just deteriorated because I kind of followed them. I felt bad. I was like, I'm gonna do this for my family. I don't want to be out here, but guess what? I'm gonna do it because of my family, right? So I did that, and we were living out there, and that mobile home, we bought it, and I told her, look, take the mobile home, sell it, whatever you make from it, you just keep it. Don't give me a dollar. I already had my apartment. We already like moved away from each other, and all I had to do was go sign the paperwork, saying that she could sell it because I bought it, and it was in both of our names. So she sells it, takes the money, and makes it seem like she didn't get much. I mean, it was like, I can't remember what we paid for it, but I know she got at least close to like 5K, because it wasn't, it wasn't in good shape, but it wasn't in bad shape. But it was a double wide, it's supposed to be top notch, whatever, so. And she sold it, took the money, never said give me a dollar or anything like that. And when we went to child support, I showed the checks that I gave. I showed them. I brought my pay stubs. They told me I had to have insurance, till they turn 18. So I was fine. They're on the insurance already. So I was cool with that. But then they're like, well, there's 3 months that it shows that you didn't pay. I was like, I may have not paid, but I gave her a mobile home, and she was supposed to sell it and get the money and keep it, as child support. I didn't ask for a dollar or a dime from it, and that's what she was supposed to do. And they were like, well, because unfortunately there's no documentation, now you owe 3 months, so now you owe arrears or whatever. And I was arguing with her. I'm like, that's not fair. For one, she doesn't let me claim any of the kids. That's one. I was like, and I know she's not gonna let me because initially we each took a kid, so like that we can get something back. I was like, and two, she got money for those last 3 months, more than what she was supposed to get. And she was like, well, I don't care, it doesn't matter. You're saying this, but if you don't just take what I say, you just got to go in front of the judge, and it's going to cost you more. So I mean, at that point, I'm like, why am I going to go in front of a judge? She can open her mouth and say something. When the lady walked away, she's like, I'll give you a minute, to discuss it. And I told her, I was like, hey, like, you took that money. She's like, yeah, but that's not enough because, you left us and this and that. I'm like, I didn't really leave you. I was like, not only did I give you the mobile home, I gave you the house, to where you can, move back in. We kicked the people out. Before we fully separated, we moved back to that home, and I took money out of my 401k, almost like 20 grand. No, I think it was like 10 grand and 5 grand to like replace stuff. These people like did us wrong, like this, like the third people, because we rented out for like almost 3 years or 2.5 years. Well, the second people that moved in had dogs and stuff that we didn't even allow, and a bunch of kids coming in and out through windows instead of using the front door, and we fixed the house. And I mean, 5 grand just went to that. It was horrible. And then, I basically got stuck with child support and paying, arrears, and I had to pay for that loan that, I mean, it came out my check, but still, I mean, it's money, I put into the house. And eventually, I was like, I'd rather my kids be in a home. If you can afford it, instead of selling it, you keep the home and keep the kids safe in a home like that. They have a home. It was a single story home that we bought just because she was sick. She couldn't walk up and down stairs, all the time. So we did that on purpose. And, I basically got screwed twice because, they charged me. I was getting charged, double the amount so I can pay it down, and lost like I think 2 years because the way they spread it out, it took like 2 years to pay that off. The way they did it because they also were taking it from my tax returns too.
Wow. Yeah, see, I would that's what I said that some people have it. They don't know how good they have it. Like the worst women get the good men that try to do stuff. The good men get, yeah, I mean, it's just all the way around. Like, good women get bad ones. I didn't have that ish, that option. You know what I'm saying? So I let him carry the kids every year for 7 straight years, maybe. And he didn't put the money back into the house, like the plumbing, the the electricity. So basically, you if I would have kept the house, all that would have had to be fixed. You had to, how much like the 52-year-old tree sitting in front of the house. The house was 50 some years old, but it was a nice house. They kept it up, but it was just the tree root hit those old pipes. And I'm like, every year that you get the taxes, you didn't do anything. You didn't do not put no repairs. Even you and your brother could have got together and did that. And he didn't try to do it. So I felt like I gave him a break instead of going fight him for spousal support. I was like, just give what is owed to your son, and my son knows. Like, people know, I'm not gonna take my kids' money and spend it on going get nothing, because that's their money. Even though, yeah, I'm supposed to make sure that's their well being. Only reason I was like that with him. You made us suffer. You tried to tear me down so much where it affected our son's health almost. So I didn't have any more compassion. And when I said what I said to him, I still to this day, I don't hate you, but I think, and he knows. He was like, when they a couple of weeks ago, I talked to him, and he was picking our son up. I said, I love my babe. I need you to let me know when you bringing him home, because it can't be no just surprise. I never let him come to the area of the town I lived in. I met him in a neutral area. I don't know where you live. You don't know where I live. We meet in a neutral area. But I was like, okay, you can come closer to where I live or whatever. It's okay. It's for my son. But you know how much I love this boy. You know how much I fought, because he almost died in the womb. I almost died on the table giving birth to him. He was dead for 10 hours on the operating table. And for you to do him the way you did him, I have no compassion. You don't do a dog like that. You don't do a dog like that, but you're doing your flesh and blood. So that's something I know that I'm still going to have to give over to God and pray on even more. But that's something that I cannot let leave my head, because how do you sit there and shed a tear on your son's bedside, that we see these machines pumping his blood because he couldn't pump his own blood right now? I just don't, I can't fathom that. I can't imagine. And you read the medical report, your son was dead 10 hours. Technically, a machine was pumping his blood for him because he was dead. And they tell you, oh, we tapped his heart after we done repaired the holes in the chambers, and it started beating again. And you sitting on the side of the bed. Was that a fake tear, Lucifer? What was it?
Well, I don't mean to laugh at that, but
But it's true.
that came in like right on point. But
Like, who does that?
I mean,
So
I understand. Like I said, I never had to deal with anything like that. But I mean, that's definitely a hard situation. I mean, me just being on the outside looking in, I mean, that almost made me shed a tear because I mean, I understand, a kid is a kid, especially,
mhm.
as young as your son was, and everything you went through. It's like you've been through so much, and then later down the line, he has an opportunity to make some of it right by
Yeah.
doing the insurance. And I mean, how hard is it? I mean, it doesn't even cost that much. It is probably $50 to $60 additional for your kids to be on the insurance, and give you the medical card. So you know you don't want him waiting, to get
Mm-hmm.
stuff done, because it was caught during, a normal procedure, at the dentist. It wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
he was going, to the heart surgeon or the heart doctor, and they were just doing normal EKGs on him, or just normal checkups. This
Mm-hmm.
was done somewhere else. So you're going to make him wait 1 or 2 months, down the line. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
His little heart can stop beating. And then it's gonna be 3 times worse, because now you're gonna have to take him to an emergency. You don't know what's gonna happen. Anything can happen on that table. You know,
Yes.
you're leaving it up to one. You're leaving it up to fate
Mm-hmm.
to handle it. Two, you're leaving it up to a doctor that you don't know. There's a lot of malpractice going on,
Mm-hmm.
and you never know. So it's best to stay away from hospitals as much as you can, unless you really need to, and taking them for like an emergency procedure, because you failed to do something normal, and now you're gonna have to pay for it big time, because one, he could lose his life. One, two, it could be
Mm-hmm.
worse, and now it's gonna hit your pocket even harder, because now you're doing emergency procedures instead of a normal procedure.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I feel I understand on that. You know, I
Yeah.
I think my son, the biggest thing my son ever had when he was younger, was he was playing on the football team, and he wasn't even playing in the football game at this time. They were just at practice, you know, playing tag football. To make it worse, and somebody chop
Mm-hmm.
blocked him, hit his knee, and hurt his knee so bad it popped out of the socket, or I can't remember, or he broke it. I think that's what it was. And we had to. I mean, it was horrible taking my son to go get an MRI, and seeing him in that tunnel, and it's like the worst feeling, or having to get X-rays, and then you tell him, look, you're gonna have to go to physical therapy if you ever want to play football again. And he was like, I'd rather not. I don't want to play
Yeah.
football anymore. And
Mm.
seeing him for like years. I think he had like the little robotic leg stuff, like JJ Watt had on his leg for like a
Yeah.
while, and I played basketball and just sitting out, and I'm taking him to at least to the court, so he can just at least be there, hanging out with us. I feel bad, but I mean, this is even worse. I mean, I feel like whatever I had to do, or should have done, like if I was in that position, I would have done it, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a young life. It's not like us. We're older already.
Yep.
We know better. We're gonna do everything. A child doesn't know better. He knows his heart is hurt, his chest is hurting, but he don't know it's his heart.
Yeah.
Luckily, they and that's one thing I noticed with dentists. They check your blood pressure. They check all that just to make sure that anything they do, because they can stress you out, and it could have been worse.
Yeah.
What if they didn't pay attention? They just went ahead and did it. It would have
Yep.
been way worse. And
Yeah.
then now you're having to go from a dentist to an emergency room, or a doctor, because they were like, we're just gonna take this money,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, the first dentist did try, and happened. It was fate. It was a gut feeling. It was, I say, that told me, get a second opinion before you let, because they was gonna pull my son tooth. And I was like, wait a minute, let me take him to my dentist, because we went in for emergency, and it was just the grace of God. They stopped everything and said, let's go to his heart doctor first. But the crazy part about it, with his dad, he'd been covered under his insurance since he was born. I was on his insurance, so that's how he got on his insurance when he was born. And you cheated. We left the relationship without saying anything to each other. So it wasn't an argument, it wasn't a fight, it wasn't we cussed each other out. We left in silence. In silence. And You made sure that your other two kids, mom, get their insurance card, but the one child that got a medical condition couldn't get it. All you had to do is send it to my phone number. Same phone number for 18 years. That's it. Make sure I get it. That's it. Simple as that. Or give it to your nephew. Your nephew and me is still cool. He gonna make sure I get it because it's for his little cousin. But I don't know what it was. Is he wanted me to punish? He wanted to punish me so bad. I just still can't. It's the crazy part because I try not to figure it out anymore. But what was it? What did you see? Was it because the two older boys are 18 and 17? You finna be done with child support, and you wanted to take this one out. And I know it's not good to think like that, but that's the only thing I could think of. He knew I couldn't make a move. My insurance, that once they pull one insurance, they gonna ask for that other one because that other one show up as primary because we made it. And I was like, I called the court crying, begging them to call this dude, call his job to get the insurance. So it was just, to me, I have nothing bad to actually say, but that one thing I told him, we could never be friends. We can never, I can fake it for you, for our son, but because you made me suffer and had to beg and plead and call the courtroom crying, can they call and get this insurance card? And I had,
I think it was bitter because of the situation he created.
and he created
Because
it.
he created it. In my case, I think she was bitter because what she
Hmm.
created, because what she did, and the way she acted, and the way her mind. Because I mean, I know on this podcast we may not talk about it, but there's been other situations that kind of led up to our full separation. And I
Hmm.
don't want to divulge it yet because it's like I want to talk
Yeah.
about it when we talk about situations that dealt, that kind of brought the separation. I know we've been talking about, the demeanor and how he acted and
Hmm.
his bitterness. I know her bitterness, and what that leads up to and how that kind of plays out in the child's life. Because I mean, everything we do ends up, if we say something a certain way to a child, they're gonna take it the way you say it and go with it. So
Yeah.
if you tell your child that he cheated, your child is gonna know he cheated, but
Hmm.
if he did it, then he did it, and for sure. In my
Hmm.
situation, it was like, no, we were pretty much separated and we
Hmm.
weren't together. I mean, I even went to the point where I called her and said, "That's it. I'm not coming
Hmm.
home anymore. That's it. It's over between us." And
Yeah.
then she did too much in the relationship, which we'll talk about that too, because it
Hmm.
was a lot of situations that led up to many other situations where the kids were in the middle of it, which that's another thing that I feel kids shouldn't be in the middle of I'm not going to say grown-ups conversation, but in
Hmm.
grown folks situations more than anything, because that they they can take something and revert it to a certain way, or it can further along down the line it can cause more trauma because they're seeing
Hmm.
something that should be kept between the parents. And like
Yeah.
I said before, what you see with your parents can lead to further situations, but the kids shouldn't be involved in it at all. I feel at all.
Yeah, I think my kids, the two babies, they kind of was kind of confused. They never seen us argue. We never argued. Like I had a blow up argument in front of them. We may have disagreed. No, that's not right. No, that's not right. But we always went in the room and closed the door. Excuse me, and had our discussion, whether it be me telling him he wrong for what he did, and he was like, "Oh, you taking everything serious," blah blah blah. They never seen it. They can't ever see that. Said it. They seen us put our hands on each other, because all they ever seen us is kiss each other and walk out the door. But they knew something at the end because he walked in, he didn't say nothing. I walked downstairs to cook, I didn't say anything. He walk out, they'll come in where daddy's that he ain't coming in certain days or whatever. And on on later on our podcast is we're gonna talk about the situation because I found the situations. I knew he cheated. I just wasn't finna sleep with him no more. You're not finna. I don't know what you're doing out there. So then he started sleeping in the back room. I knew you did it. I found the credit card receipts. I found all this. But I'm not gonna sit here and argue because we're seeing them. When it got to the point where you have to bring somebody else in the relationship and you don't give me the option to say, "Hey, you doing this? Let me leave," because anything could happen. I'm not saying you know, I can be getting into a new relationship and catch a disease, but I don't want to be in a threesome. You know what I'm saying? You didn't give me the option on that part. So I already knew it. And at that time, my heart was already mending itself because, okay, I seen what you did. I know what you did. Yeah, she was the relief. You didn't have to worry about what's going on with the kids, the house, work. You didn't have those responsibilities when you was with her. But if all you had to do is do these simple things to make right, I am your atmosphere. You set the tone. The man sets the tone, the woman sets the atmosphere. And I love how my pastor said that because if your tone is correct when you walk in that house, the atmosphere can't be nothing but correct. I can't be nothing but give you your peace because you bring in the right tone with me. But if you come in here, you buying a new motorcycle, Harley Davidson motorcycle, but we got goddamn plumbing issues that's going on. You buying a $27,000 motorbike and shit, we can't even flush one of the toilets upstairs or it'll come all back up. That's a problem.
Priorities were in the wrong
Yes.
lane, pretty much.
Yes. So that's where that came. So I accepted that, even though I didn't venge off like that until the end because you want some emotional companionship. And I was like, I'm not gonna be right if I try to do this. So it wasn't something for me. But I ain't gonna say that at the end when I knew he was going out there, did I go? Yeah, I did. But I left it alone because I still got my kids to focus on. I gotta be good for them. But when all the other stuff started happening, I was just all over the place. But yeah, I knew what he did, and I was okay with it because I didn't have to say all this. Oh, we breaking up. We gonna end it. You gave her the reason for it to end, so it was due. It was way overdue. So